Hello coders, welcome to Refresh Coding. So in the previous videos we have seen how to add a cluster and how to add node groups to that cluster. So you can see now if my workers means my nodes are up and they are ready. So I'm going to connect with them and I'm going to deploy my microservices on this nodes. So we have already discussed how we can install AWS CLI in our Windows system and how we can configure it. So we have already done these steps in the previous video, and now we will just run this one command, which is AWS EKS update kube config, and we will give our reason and we will give our cluster name, which is my cluster, so that it will be updated in my this AWS configuration. So once you will run this command and it will give you a message like updated context, or when you are doing it for the first time it will give you a message as added context, something like that. Then that means now you are ready to run your Kubernetes, or you can say kubectl commands here, because this worker nodes here, they will work with, since we are working with AWS Elastic Kubernetes service, so we are going to run Kubernetes, or you can say kubectl commands here now in AWS CLI to work with our worker nodes. Now make sure in your system you have already downloaded and installed Docker Desktop, and you have in the settings you have selected this Kubernetes and you have enabled Kubernetes, otherwise it will not work. Now how to download and install Docker for Windows, that also I will show you in a video. So right now you make sure that this is done in your system, and after that you can run this commands. So now we will run the command, and our first command is we will get the cluster information. So we will run the command kubectl cluster dash info. So this command will run and it will give you the information of your cluster. It will take some time. Okay, so now if you can see this, it is giving you the cluster info, and it is saying to further debug and there is no problem in your cluster. So it is saying Kubernetes control plane is running at this and everything is working fine. After this I want to see how many nodes are there in my Kubernetes, so I will just run the command kubectl get no, or you can say get nodes, and it will return me the nodes which are working right now. Okay, so if you can see right now it is returning me 2 nodes. If you remember, we have created 2 worker nodes here, so both the node information it is returning me here. After that, what I want to do, I want to deploy my microservices on these nodes. So first of all I will have to create 2 files. One is service.yaml and the second one is deploy.yaml. So what is the syntax for deploy? Again here you will have to take these images like book API and student API from your Docker Hub, and you will deploy these images, or you can say these are my microservices which I have created Docker images and I have pushed them to Docker Hub, and now by using this file they will be pulled directly from Docker Hub and they will be deployed on your nodes. Now again, since I am using a database, so I will give my AWS RDS link here, means my database, cloud database link, and you will give the username and you will give the password. Okay, after that you will have to give a port, okay, on whatever port your application is running. So in my system my application is running on 8082, so I will give that port number here. Now all this syntax you don't have to by heart. I will put these files on my GitHub account and I will share the GitHub link in the description, so you will be able to get them. So the same thing I have done for student API also, and here also I have given the details and I have given the image from where it will be pulled on Docker Hub, and again the data source URL and data source username, password, everything. Now in the service.yaml, what all the things are there, this is my deploy.yaml. In service.yaml, again you will just map this application port to a node port. Node port means where your application will run on your worker node. Okay, that node port you will have to map. So what is my target port? It is 8082, means my application is actually running on 8082, but I am mapping it with a node port which is 30,001. Same thing I am doing with student API also, and I am mapping it on 30,002. That's it you will do in service.yaml. Again I will put this file on GitHub and the link will be there in the description, so you will get this file. Now what I will do, I will deploy my services by using this file. So first of all I will have to go to the location where I have stored this file. So I have saved this file in D and then on this location. So I will just go here, and after this I will run the kubectl command to deploy the file. So I will say kubectl and then so I will run the command kubectl apply and -f deploy.yaml, and it will take some time and it will apply this deploy.yaml here. So you can see now it has created my book API and student API. So my book API and student API is created in this Kubernetes cluster. After this I will run the command kubectl apply and service.yaml, so that the services also will be ready. Okay, so if you can see now my deployment of apps are also created and services are also ready. That means now my application, my microservices are deployed on the node in the Kubernetes cluster. Now I can directly run them by using the cluster. So how we can run them, that we will see. Okay, now one more thing we can see if the pod is created in the kubectl or not. So we can just say kubectl get po. This is the command for getting the pod. So it is actually your application is getting containerized and all the containers are getting stored in a pod. That is what is the concept of Kubernetes. So if you can see now, you are getting these pods, book API and student API. So now we will just see the logs and we will see whether these applications are running fine or not. And if you can see, the status is coming right now as running. That means there is no problem in our application, it is running. So we can see the logs right now. So we will see the logs. So we will run the command kubectl and -l and logs, and the API I will give as student -API. All this information is already given in our service file. Okay, it looks like I made a mistake. Okay, so it should be logs and then -l. Sorry, my mistake. So it should be kubectl logs and then -l. API is equal to student API, and if I will enter this, it will give me the logs. Okay, so you have seen now we got the pod. Now we will run the command kubectl logs -l app is equal to student API to get the logs of student API, and when I will enter, it will give me the logs of student API. So you can see now it is giving me the logs of student API. It is started. So student API is started, means my microservices started, and it is running on port 8081. Okay, and the same way you can get the log for book API as well. So you will run this command and you will say book API, and it will take some time, but it will give you the logs. Okay, so if you can see now, your book service, which is a Spring Boot application, which is a microservice that is running on your AWS Kubernetes cluster. Okay, now if you remember, we have mapped it with a node port. Okay, so if you really want to see the result in the browser, you can connect to that node port. So I will go here in my workers, and suppose I will take this worker here. I will click on this, and from here, if you see ultimately in this node groups, what is created is your EC2 instance. So right now, if you can see, you can actually go to the instances and you can see your instance. So in AWS EKS, which is Elastic Kubernetes Services, actually what is happening, your node ports are created, means your worker nodes are created, and inside those nodes actually what is running is your EC2 service. So that means you are deploying your microservices in EC2 instance only. So if you see here, it should give you the instance in instances, and if you can see here now, this instance is running. Okay, and this is the instance which is coming from your node. So this instance is actually coming from here, your worker nodes, and it is loading. Since there is a lot of data, so it will take some time to load. And if you can see, my instance is stopped, it is not running. Now what these two instances are running are actually my worker nodes, which I have created in Kubernetes cluster. Okay, so if you want to connect to them, just click here and just copy the public DNS. Copy the public DNS and go to the browser and just paste the public DNS. No, not this. Copy the public DNS, go to new tab and paste the public DNS. And if you remember your node port, on what node port your student service is mapped, just go to service file and check. Student service is mapped on port number 30,002. Okay, so what you will do here, you will connect to 30,002 / you will give your URL, which is student API, and / get. See, this is the URL in my microservice Spring Boot application. In your application, the URL might be different, so you will run the URL which is there in your microservice, but this much will be same. Like, you will copy the public DNS of your EC2 instance, and here you will give the port number, and after that you will run the URL, whatever URL with which you are working. Okay, and there you go. If you see, the moment you run this URL, you will fetch the data. So this is what is the data I have. Like, I have created a book DB, and there a book table is there, and all this data is there. So it is fetching that data from your AWS RDS in the node.